Hey everybody. Hey everybody, how you doing? There the last when I first made this, and this was the first version of this, which only goes for 23 seconds, and I made part two because I didn't intend to stop part one. It was an accident, but I realized if I got rid of it, it would create a lot of broken links all over the system with respect to that original video or live stream, and I didn't want to have the broken links over here, or in social media. So I thought, you know what? I'll just make a second version, and then I'll link the second version to the first version. So this is the second version. Um, what Here's the problem, and I need to update you. By the way, thanks for joining me. It's late. I originally made this or started this on the 1st of February, and then didn't get to doing it. But the motivation at the time was the revelation that a property in Oakland had lost 87% of its value. So let's do a recap briefly of what's transpired since then. The last month almost has been punctuated by the closure of the Waterfront Hotel, a shocking development which leaves Jack London Square something closer to a blighted stage than the vibrant place it was known for some time through the 90s and the early part of the 21st century, the first decade of the 21st century, certainly. Uh, and then, of course, the pandemic and the city's lack of an answer for businesses to cope with the pandemic changed everything. Now, note in italics what I said: the city's lack of an answer to cope with it or deal with the pandemic. No business assistance, no assisted enforcement of codes to address buildings that will deteriorate naturally. Because remember, you couldn't be in the building, you had to close your business. And government wasn't, either federal, state, or local, in the habit of providing you with air cleaners to clean out the COVID and um, other types of technology to keep your air clean. So that, hey, if you go in and eat or go in and wear a mask, but take off your mask briefly, have your food, put your mask back on, knowing that there's this air system that's cleaning out the air, in a reasonable period, so that it's less likely, far less likely, that you catch the coronavirus, right? In other words, changing the environment indoors. That was something that I actually wrote about it we needed to do, but the city didn't do it. Either the state of California, and certainly not the federal government, which really need to spend $9 billion. $9 billion. Excuse me. Did I say billion? I meant trillion. $9 trillion to literally prop up the American economy after taking the legs out from under it by saying, "Hey, to everybody, hey, you got to close." Wow. So anyway, um, so here we are, Oakland's. It's after the pandemic. Now, note, there's no sound argument to say that we're truly out of the pandemic as the coronavirus exists, and as long as people are getting affected by it, even if it's a little bit. And that while that's happened to a dramatically diminishing degree, thanks to the various types of medicines developed to combat it, and diets and everything else, like herbal teas and special mixtures, it is still with us. We have done nothing to address the fact that we didn't help businesses and people recover monetarily from the pandemic. We just acted like it was a storm, that nothing really happened, And that was it. In the case of Oakland, something did happen. Oakland lost over Oakland and the East Bay of California lost over 11,000 businesses from 2020 to 2021. 11,000. Now that doesn't include what happened between 2021 and present day. And so arguably looking at another 20,000 businesses, or looking at another 10,000 businesses. So there's just a sound argument that Oakland has lost 20,000 businesses over that period. And you would say, what does that look like, compared to the total number of businesses in Oakland? Well, last time I checked, we had about 47,000 businesses in Oakland. So basically, one third of our tax base was destroyed. It has been destroyed over that period. One third. What have we done to bring it back business? Nothing. We stopped doing economic development way back in 2014, 2015. We stopped doing business retention. We stopped using redevelopment because Jerry Brown had got rid of tax increment financing in 2011. And by the time its replacement was created in late 2014, the institutional memory of how to do it was gone. The people. And that was true not just for Oakland, but for the entire state of California. Gone. Left to a handful of consultants up and down the state, people like myself, who knew how, but a fraction of the once mighty group of 397 government entities that used California redevelopment, all of which went, if you will, out of business when the government and the Governor Brown took his action. Okay. So now here we are with no tool, like no tool. Redevelopment was a great tool with which to cope with the pandemic. And we didn't respond because the institutional knowledge of how to do it was largely not there. I had one council member when I was trying to explain to him how to handle it say, well, uh, I trust the consultant over you. I said, even though my calculations are right and the consultants are wrong, why is that? Well, because they're a consultant. In other words, we're paying them $1 million, we're not paying you. Okay? That was an Oakland council member too. So, and obviously I've never forgotten it, and then forgotten it. During that time, according to the United States Census, on top of the businesses, Oakland lost officially over 14,000 people. 14,000. Now, unofficially, I would bet that the numbers double that. So let's say that we lost 28,000 people. All right. That is approximately, I would say, 1/5 of our tax base of workers. That's money that's spent in bars, restaurants, shops. Tax goes into our pay our taxes, obligations, all that gone, gone, and we've done nothing to try to replace it. No giant. Hey, we need a giant recovery program. When's the last time you heard Oakland say they're going to do that? None, not at all. We've done nothing, folks. And it's nonsensical to think that a mayor is going to change the state of affairs. This happens when you have an entire city of people that's quite literally lost its will and lost the institutional memory of how to get it back. And that's where we are. We have to have the will to want to rise. And right now, Oakland doesn't have it. Oakland simply doesn't have it. That's the problem. And we have this, I call it groupthink, where your group thinks it has the answer over the other group, and both groups are talking about cuts. Well, That's in the box. I haven't seen anyone willing to think outside the box to say, hey, maybe we do need to look at tax increment financing and actually do a project. Because what's happened is that we've gotten rid we've gotten rid of a good proportion of our business tax base and our population. Yet we built housing, but we have not built anything in the way of a system to encourage the development of small business throughout Oakland, drive the rents down to zero. We haven't done anything with dramatic nature that reflects and counters the degree to which the depths to which we believe our city has dropped. We just let it happen. All right. We've got to stop letting it happen. And we have to stop over politicizing everything. With the port, says we have 100 proposals for Howard Terminal. I still call it Howard Terminal. Howard Terminal development. There should only be one development that the city wants to do. In my opinion, we need a first-class hotel and convention center. We've never tried to capture maritime business traffic from a tourist and business perspective. You know, people like John Deere Tractor and other organizations that make equipment that can be used for various aspects of maritime operations. Okay. Meanwhile, New Orleans has a convention center that is such that they have maritime conventions. I believe Houston as well. Aren't they our competitors? And yet we don't have anything like that? Really? Okay. The city needs to be its own developer and stop putting out this political football to be tossed around. That's a big problem. We have to study enhanced infrastructure financing district legislation, come up with a plan that's workable, and then use it. The last time we came up with any plan, it was a draft infrastructure financing plan that was buried in a database of the Athletic, the publication. And they didn't write about it. That infrastructure financing plan projected a $2.5 billion subsidy for Howard Terminal. Can you imagine what 300 million would have done as a pass through to the city general fund? Think about it. All right. We've got a lot of work to do. And it's not the last time I've talked about this. I'm going to continue to do so. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube. This now called the Vlog Report with Zenny62. And bookmark OaklandNewsOnline.com. Thank you.